Hi everyone, welcome to Bookmas Day 11. I can't believe this is the second last video. It only felt fitting that one of the last videos of Bookmas be a what I read this year video, tier list style. I have it up on my laptop, sorry for my dirty laptop screen. I'll be putting it on the screen here, which is why I'm kind of to the side. And I thought this would be a fun way to kind of just talk about the books I read and discuss my favorites, not favorites, and then kind of do a final thoughts at the end. The categories I decided to do, I changed it up a little bit. So instead of doing a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 star, I did 5 stars, I didn't change that. And then I did a great read, so a book that wasn't quite a 5-star, but was still a really solid read. I have pretty good, which is kind of the average category, a book that wasn't necessarily a standout, but it wasn't a bad book. Have not my favorite. And then for the last category, instead of doing a terrible book category, I did a not memorable, because I think I had more books that were just not as memorable to me versus books that were just absolutely terrible. And of course, I need to preface that this is my personal opinion, and I think that's the way I'm going to be doing this tier list. So there are certain books on this list, actually the first book is a perfect example, but that when you think of the book in the bigger picture, it's technically a great read, but I'm basing my tier list off of personal preference. The first book I have is Bridge to Terabithia, and I'm going to put that in the pretty good category. I believe that this is actually a great read. I think it's a great YA read, but I think because I had seen the movie, like I saw the movie way back in the day, and then just recently rewatched the movie, I have a really close place in my heart for the movie. So the story of the book didn't line up as well with the movie, but had I read the book first, I might have had a more of a special place in my heart for the book. So for that reason, I'm putting it in pretty good, because I feel like I just love the characters in the movie more. I think the book, obviously there were some differences that I didn't love as much, but again, personal preference. So that is going to be in pretty good. The next book I have is Boyfriend Material. I'm going to put it also in pretty good. I think I rated it a 4 stars, but looking at all the books on this list, it was an okay read. I remember really liking the read. It was a very sweet romance. There was like no spice. However, I did really like the characters in the book, and I thought the story was very sweet, but I am going to put it in pretty good. Camp Spirit was the first graphic novel I've ever read, and I thought it was this one's tough too. I feel like I'm gonna end up with a lot in the pretty good and great read category. Camp Spirit was just a really sweet story about friendship at summer camp. However, there was also kind of a fantasy element to it, but it also took me quite a long time to get through, and I don't know if it's because I read it on Kindle, so I think the hard copy of it maybe would have kept me more motivated. I feel like I'm on the fence about graphic novel formatting on Kindle. I think it's great, and I'm happy that you're able to access different kinds of stories. Like I have a cookbook on my Kindle. However, I think this kind of book would have done better for me as a hard copy, so it took me longer to get through. I wasn't as excited to pick up this book, but every time I did read it, I was really enjoying the story. I thought the climax of the story though did fall a little flat for me, but I really loved the illustrations in it. So I think I'm going to overall put it in a great read. Okay, Merry Christmas, You Filthy Animal. I am going to put that in not my favorite. And again, personal reasons, I think the book itself, if you're looking for a cheesy Christmas spicy romance, this book is going to deliver that for you. So it delivers what you expect it to deliver, but based off of personal preference, it wasn't my favorite book. I didn't love the characters in the book. The story, I think, felt a little too long for me, and it was just a little too cheesy. But again, that's what you should expect out of that book. So that it really just came down to personal preference. So I'm just gonna put it in not my favorite, but I would love to explore more from this author. Then we have Our Kind of Game. I'm putting that, unfortunately, in the not memorable category. I remember when I read the book, I actually really liked the book. I have a memory of me liking the book, and I believe I rated it a 4-star on Goodread, but I think I read it in January or February. I couldn't tell you one thing about the book though, which means it just didn't stick in my brain. And I find any obviously really good story, or one that, you know, caught me by surprise, will stick in my brain for a long time, and this one has left my brain within the span of a year. So unfortunately it's just not as memorable, but the good thing is I might reread it one day because I don't remember anything from the book. People watching, I'm putting in not my favorite. I feel like I've talked about this throughout the year, but it just wasn't my favorite romance. The spice in it too, it just, all of it felt very kind of cringe to me. The romance too, I didn't like really love that much. The story, I didn't really love like that much, but that's just how I felt about it. I don't know. It just wasn't my favorite. I must leave that one at that. All right. Now I'm looking at kind of ahead at what we have, and we're going to get into some of the 5-star reads. So Some Choose Darkness is going in the 5-star read category. This was my first Charlie Donnelly book, and I absolutely loved this book. I thought that the story was so good. I feel like Charlie Donnelly is an incredible thriller. Well, I guess I feel like he falls more into the crime category than the thriller category, but he is, in my opinion, so good at constructing a story where we are trying to figure out who did it. And I feel like once you finish the book, you can pick up on little things, and it just all makes sense. And yeah, it's going to be in the top 3 reads of the year for me. I highly recommend any Charlie Donnelly book if you're looking for a kind of whodunit / crime, a little bit of a thriller too, depends on which book you're reading, but Some Choose Darkness, a very solid read, 5-star read. Okay, then I have So Thirsty, which I think I'm going to put in. It's interesting because I think I gave it a 4-star, but I really did like the read, and now that I'm thinking about it, it's a pretty memorable read to me. There's a lot that I remember from the book. It was the perfect book to read during the fall season, and I thoroughly enjoyed the story. I might put this in a 5-star read because I really liked Rachel Harrison's writing. I loved the characters in the book, and the only thing, okay, sorry if the angle changed a little bit. I literally ran out of storage while filming, so we are not starting over, obviously, but hopefully I can smoothly do this again, but that makes sense because I've literally filmed 3 videos, I think, and I was going to do a Bookmas about the Jonas Brothers concert, but I decided to scrap that, so I just deleted all the footage for that because I had that filmed. Anyways, I don't know where it cut me off, but So Thirsty, I'm just going to start from where I think. So I'm going to put So Thirsty in the 5-star category. Even though I gave it a 4-star, I think it was a really solid read. I think Rachel Harrison's writing was so good. It was so fun. I think the only issue I had with So Thirsty was before I read it, I heard it was going to be a horror story, and I actually didn't find it super scary. There's one scene in there that I did find pretty scary, and I still think about it to this day. But I remember thinking when I was picking up the book, like, oh, horror, like, I don't think I've read any books in that category. I've read lots of thrillers, but nothing in like the horror genre. So I was expecting something to be like extra spooky, a bit gory, and there was obviously some gore in it and some scary scenes, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. It was a pretty, I feel like, tamed horror. Like, I feel like the horror experts out there would put it in like a very tame category. Like, I feel like there's probably some way more intense books out there, but honestly, I really liked it. I thought it was the perfect read for the fall, so I put it in the 5-star category. Summer Sisters by Judy Blume, I'm putting in a great read. I thought that it was a sweet coming of age story. It was about 2 best friends. They came from very different upbringings and they form a friendship together. It's basically about their life when they were friends when they were younger to when they are older. And yeah, it was a really sweet read. It was super fun to read a Judy Blume book after all these years. I was a big Judy Blume gal when I was a kid, so it's super fun to see that she is writing books for an adult audience now. And yeah, it was a really good read. I would read it definitely in the summertime. And yeah, I'm putting it in great read. Okay, Summit Lake by Charlie Donnelly, I'm also putting in 5-star. I gave it a 4-star originally, but I changed it to a 5-star because honestly, I think about that book a lot, and I think over time now, like, I like it equally as much as Some Choose Darkness. I just really liked the story. It was also a really good kind of whodunit. I loved the setting of the book, I loved the characters of the book, and I thought the story was overall fabulous. I see a lot of Frida McFadden next, so I have Never Lie. I am giving that a 5-star. I think Never Lie and The Housemaid are, so far from what I've read, her 2 best books. I wish I saved it for the winter time, but I thought the story was really good. I liked the twist in it. I liked the characters in it. I thought our female main character, this happens with a lot of Frida books, so I feel like there's something kind of like a little bit annoying about them, but a lot of times they will redeem themselves. And yeah, I thought the characters were great, story was great. I just think I remember thinking that I wish there was more juicy details in the recording tapes, but besides that, 5-star read. Okay, then I have The Surrogate Mother, and I believe I gave it a 4-star, and now think I'm going to put it in the pretty good category because I remember certain things from the story, but I think it's not as memorable as some of the other books on this list. I could tell you like small little plot points of the book and like the general premise of the book, but I don't remember as many details from this one. I think this is the one where she hit me with the double plot twist, so she always keeps me on my toes, but I'm gonna put it in pretty good. Okay, The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden, I'm putting in not my favorite. I've been pretty vocal about that one. It's my only Frida book that I've just not really been a fan of at all. I didn't like the characters in it. I didn't really like the story in it. And I just thought the female main character, I just think she was not the most intelligent person. Okay, The Gift by Frida McFadden. This is a recent read. It was a short story, and honestly, I'm putting it up in great read. I thought this was the perfect little thriller to read around the holidays. The epilogue itself gave me chills a bit, but yeah, it was like 47 pages, and it was centered around a Christmas evening. Definitely, if you're trying to reach a certain book goal, I would add this one to your list because it's so short. I think she did a really good job at creating this short story that was still as intense as her full stories. Okay, then I have The Glass Mermaid. I'm putting it in pretty good. This is definitely just my fault. I was going through a phase where I was looking for a book about mermaids, but mermaids under sea. And when I was reading the description of this book, I thought, I could already tell it was probably going to be a little bit mixed where this person was going to be on land, but I thought we'd get some more, underwater stuff, but this truly was, it was Aquamarine meets The Fault in Our Stars, and for 85% of the book, the mermaid was on land and then had one scene where they were in the water, and even when they were in the water, they were just there was no underwater world or world building, and that's what I was kind of looking for. So that's my fault for not really reading more details about it. However, I thought it was a really sweet read, and it was really touching. The characters I really liked, and yeah, I just thought it was a really sweet story. It was also a short story, I believe. It was less than 150 pages, so a super quick read. Okay, and this was a reread for me. So I have The Housemaid. I'm putting that at 5 stars. I read this book back in 2023 and wanted to read it before the movie, which you would have seen in my last video, me comparing the book to the movie. But I'm putting it in 5-star because honestly, I enjoyed it so much the second time around as well, which I feel like is very telling that it was a really good thriller in my opinion, and I was on the edge of my seat. I love the book way more than the movie, as again, you probably heard in my video, but super solid read. Never Lie and The Housemaid are definitely her 2 strongest books that I have read. Okay, then we have Suicide House, which I'm gonna put in great read. It's been my least favorite Charlie Donnelly book, but I still thought it was really good. It kind of is the book that got me into realizing I love the kind of academia vibes. It was set at a elite boarding school, and it gave kind of eerie vibes. I just thought the story itself was a little chaotic at points, a little harder to follow than his other 2 books, but overall, I thought the story was really fun, and it was a super fun thriller / crime book. Okay, then we have We'll Always Have Summer. This one's a tough one for me to rate actually, because I zoomed through this book because I mean, it's a YA book, so it literally took me, I feel like, a day or two to read. But thinking about it, I mean, it's not the most memorable. I actually can't really tell you much about the book now. I feel like because the show is so ingrained in my head now that I couldn't really tell you much about the book itself. So I'm gonna put it not memorable, because clearly I like the book because I read it so fast, but I couldn't tell you much about it now. Okay, then we have We Used to Live Here, which I'm putting at 5-star. This was also, I think, one of my top books of the year. It was an extremely haunting, crazy, kind of paranormal thriller, and I just thought the story was so fun, so eerie. I loved all the characters, and I thought the whole setting of the book was done really well, and I really loved the writing of the story. I remember lots of details from it. I remember how it ends. The ending still gives me like chills when I think about it, but overall, one of my favorite reads of the year. Highly recommend. And then we have Wild Love, which I'm going to put in great read. I believe it was my first 5-star read of the year. I might move it down to a 4-star read now, because there are lots of details I'm actually not remembering now, which means that in the grand scheme of things, it's not a standout book for me anymore. I feel like it was just a really nice love story. There was some spice to it. I liked the characters in it. I liked the setting of it. And I just thought it was a really solid romance book. Okay, we have 5 more books to go. Hopefully my phone does not run out of storage. We have The Teacher by Frida McFadden, which I'm putting in great read. I talk about this in my review for this book. Obviously, any book that involves this theme of teacher grooming student it's weird to rate books with these topics. I feel like with these kind of themes, obviously they're very disturbing, so sometimes it just feels weird to rate these books. But I thought Frida did a good job with this thriller. I liked the characters in it. I thought the way it played out was pretty solid, and there's a lot of things in this book that stick out to me. So for that, I'm putting it in a great read. It has been, I will say, one of my more favorites of Frida McFadden. Okay, then we have The Honeycrisp Orchard Inn, which I'm going to put in pretty good. I believe I give it a 4 stars, but again, longevity of it, it's not the most memorable, but I personally really did like the book. I liked the characters. I thought this book was the perfect fall cheesy romance, but I think in a year from now, I won't be able to tell you. Even now, I can't really tell you that much from the book detail-wise. The only thing I could really talk about is like the general premise of the book. So it's not the most memorable, but I remember enjoying it when I was reading it. So for that, it's going in pretty good. And then I have Meet Me at the Lake, which is going in great read. This might have been maybe my favorite romance of the year. I don't know. I guess Wild Love and Meet Me at the Lake were kind of tied. Like when I first finished Wild Love and when I first finished Meet Me at the Lake, I was really happy with the story. But now thinking about the 2 books, I think I would put Meet Me at the Lake slightly above Wild Love, because I liked the setting of Meet Me at the Lake more, and I liked the characters in Meet Me at the Lake more. I thought it was a really solid read. Great introduction to Carly Fortune. I'm so excited. I have 2 books of hers now to get through next year, and yeah, I just love that her book was also set in Ontario. I am from Ontario, so it was super cool to know about different places she was referencing in the book. Okay, The Wedding People, I'm going to put it in not my favorite. The Wedding People was one of the most confusing books for me to rate this year, because it was one of those books where it started off so strong for me. I was so intrigued. I loved the setting. The characters were great. And then I don't know if it's because it was the first like hardcover book I was reading after reading a bit on my Kindle, but it took me so long to get through. I feel like I sat down with this book maybe 5 to 8 times, and it took me so long to get through. I remember when I hit page 100, it felt like an eternity. I just didn't love the way that it played out either. Honestly, I thought it was a little bit on the boring side, and I'm sorry to say that because I know it's a very beloved book. It was literally the Reader's Choice Award of 2024 for Goodreads, but it just personally wasn't my favorite book. I will say I still liked the characters a lot. I just think that overall it went down the avenue that wasn't the avenue I was hoping for. Therefore, it fell a little flat for me. But I can also see why people would like this book, and it was also a really well written book. I thought that the author's writing was really good. It just story-wise was not my favorite. And then lastly, we have The Girls Who Grew Big, which I know I rated, I believe, 3 stars. I think I would rate it 3.5 stars, 3.75 stars. I'm gonna put this in a great read. I didn't love the way the last 75% of the book played out, but overall, I think it was a really solid read. I enjoyed reading it. It was a really unique story. I had never read anything like it, but yeah, okay. Well, I'm really happy about this because it looks like I have way more books in the 5-star and great reads, which means I overall read more books that were great than not so great. So kind of my overall thoughts looking at this list. If I were to choose my top 3 favorite books of the year, I believe it would be Some Choose Darkness, Summit Lake, and We Used to Live Here. And actually in a particular order, I think it would actually be Summit Lake, We Used to Live Here, Some Choose Darkness. I think the rest of them are kind of tied because I really like So Thirsty and the 2 Frida McFadden books. And I think my least favorite read of the year would probably be The Boyfriend, maybe. To be honest, I can't really remember too much from the plot, and I remember just not liking it when I was reading it, so I think The Boyfriend would come in last place. I think some of the honorable mentions would be, I think Summer Sisters was a pretty solid read. I think Meet Me at the Lake was a solid read. The Gift by Frida McFadden, In Camp Spirit. So thank you so much for tuning in to my what I read this year, and I hope that I gave you some inspo for your list next year. I'm so excited to talk about some of the reads that I am going to be reading throughout 2026, and I'm excited to continue making book content. We have one more video for Bookmas, and then I'll probably be taking maybe a little bit of a hiatus for a little bit, but who knows? I feel like my future right now is a little up in the air. So you might be seeing me soon, you might not be, but all I know is that I am excited to continue making content in 2026. It's been super fun. I'm really happy I did this challenge, and I think extending it to the end of December was the best decision. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you for the final Bookmas video. Bye.